Hello and welcome to the Winners Find a Way show. I am your host, Trent Clark, CEO of Leadershipity, serial entrepreneur. I am a Bloom growth coach, speaker in over 17 countries, 5 stars everywhere I go, man. And of course, most people probably know me as the author of Leading Winning Teams, or that I coached over 13 years of professional baseball with 3 World Series teams. Exciting on Winners Find a Way today. I've got my good friend and president of EO Dallas, the entrepreneur organization, Mike Rose. How you doing, Mike?
Great. That intro pumped me up. I'm ready to go.
You sound pumped up, man. There's like a return on energy right now.
Let's do it.
Getting a return off that pump up. Hey, man, I am super excited about this today, obviously, because one, I'm a guy who thrives on energy, right? I feel it from other people. I'm in tune with how people work. So I'm super excited to learn more, and especially your special gift today for everybody, which is we're going to get to in a little bit. First, Mike, author of Return on Energy. You wrote that book a little while ago. It's a great book, still out there on Amazon. You've done all sorts of things, serial entrepreneur, and live in the greater Dallas, Fort Worth area, and married, which is pretty awesome. And 4 lovely kids, man, that are about to get all the way through uni. You got a couple all the way through, and you got a couple more to go, but you're getting there.
We are. We are empty nesters, so that was milestone number 1, and now we have 2 more going through school, and that's milestone number 2. We aren't even trying to think about weddings in the future, so we're just going to stick with that.
Oh yeah, that's the next big cost, right? That's
right on.
Yeah, get these universities paid, then it's wedding centers. That's awesome.
Exactly.
So just more bills. So I love it. So good. Obviously, as a parent of 5, I appreciate that my 2 older are married. I have 2 new daughters-in-law in our family.
Congratulations.
It's wonderful as a growing. And as a family of 4, you really appreciate the fact, and most people don't know this, when you're a leader in a company, you have this exponential relationship that you manage in your company. It's 25 employees. You know, we have 40 people on a baseball team. You have 25 athletes and a staff of like 15 between coaches and trainers and doctors and staff that are doing travel and all sorts of things, which is an exponential relationship of you're balancing 480 relationships inside that ecosystem. Right. So, you know, it's center fielder to the trainer, it's team doctor to the first baseman, it's traveling secretary to your catcher, your hitting coach to the left fielder, you know, and then they get in groups, and then in businesses, you're managing the same thing. So as you get these large families and they start having babies and you have grandchildren and in-law, daughters-in-law and sons-in-law, it's like, hey, we're managing like 70 relationships. It's a lot.
100%. I say this in our business all the time. There are 3.2 members per household in the United States. So though we're employing, say, for example, 100 people, we're really touching 320 people over time. So we have to look at the ripple effect of how we as leaders are leading our business, because those people go home and they carry positive or negative energy with them. And we feel accountable for making it positive, not negative.
That's a big deal. You know, I tell a lot of leaders, hey, you're always making decisions for 3 or 4 per person.
Right on.
So we can take on 100, 300 to 400 people are being affected by every decisions we're making as leaders, as our business, as we go through. And this is, hey, do we have the money to send them to college? Do we have, can we afford a car? Can we, eat out? Like, these little things matter to families. And and I don't like when leaders don't understand that responsibility. Is that fair?
That's 100%. That's one of the reasons why we took on the mission in our business to take on financial literacy, because we wanted to teach all the employees how the business made money, lose money through a concept called open book management. But honestly, where we didn't anticipate it going in a very, very positive way is then the employees started to pull me and my wife, who was co-owner of the business, aside in the hallway saying, hey, will you help me build a personal budget? I have a savings goal. I have these goals in my life. I want to put my kid through college. I have a wedding. I want to buy a ring. I want to buy a car for my mom, those things. And so the financial literacy that we taught in the business transformed even the business into personal. And that's when I knew we had something really special to touch that 3.2 beyond the person standing in front of you.
Well, I love it. As a Texas-based company, I have a lot of clients based in Texas, and I love the fact, like, Texas offers a very significant education program to your kids. Like, you can get involved very early in the Texas savings program. And I mean, those are tools that most people don't know about. Like, and they're available to anyone who lives in Texas. It's not just, oh, hey, listen, I don't have a job like that. No, you're still eligible. Like, and I think people, because of financial literacy, don't know that. And so, man, that's a great like benefit that you brought. I mean, you've always given so much, Mike. And I look at like from the days, Texas Wesleyan, you start out as a student there in Texas, even though you did most of your growing up in Pennsylvania, born in Texas. And man, you've recently done this great physical trip to Greece, the 100-year or 100 people out there with multiple celebrations of anniversaries with these groups, kind of telling about how you work inside your friends group and family group. It's so cool. And then, of course, you have a chemistry and biochemistry major, which you did do a little bit of a research before you started sliding over to marketing, where you really and really grew a big brand, which you sold a number of years ago. But that's really how it all started. Is that fair?
It was. And, we'll probably get to this later, but I just saw how hard my parents worked in their business for such little return. They built incredible value. They poured every single ounce of themselves into it, built a great product, had great following. It just wasn't magical, but they just never got the return on that financial investment they made. So I decided when I moved from high school that I was never, ever going to go into business for myself. And so I went the opposite way, but I was working in a biochem lab. And one day I just called my dad on the phone and I said, hey, I think I'm going to start a business. And he goes, blankety blank, blank, blank. What are you thinking about? You're the first to go to college, much less graduate from college and have a professional degree. You've got it made. He would always tell me, you have the world by the tail. And I said, no, I think I want to do this. And the idea was, we were working in a biochemistry lab as scientists with shirts and ties in a lab coat. And that's the way it's always been done at Elcon Laboratories in Fort Worth, Texas. And one summer, the CEO said, we're going to go corporate casual. So you can wear, because it's hot in summer in Texas. So we went corporate casual for 3 months. And I think that's the first kind of lesson to an entrepreneur, is to kind of, where is the opportunity, right? What problem are you going to solve? And it just popped into my head for some reason I still can't explain, but left chest embroidery. I just felt that corporations are going to go more corporate casual to the point where it's going to be 100% casual and less formal. So I kind of started this little business on the side in my parents' backyard, because I didn't have the space, and it was technically in their dog shed. So my first 2 employees were 2 dogs. But beyond that, I saw a niche and I saw an opportunity. And from there, we were in 6-figure sales in the first 5 months. I resigned from Elcon and went into it full steam. And it was the time of my life.
It's funny. People think like, man, you are walking the plank, man. Like, you got this safe, secure boat, and you step out there into the dog shed, right? And your 2 employees don't speak English, and you're like going, man, I'm going to do this, right? And you're thinking like, every person I talk to looks back on that and goes, it was so awesome.
Oh, time of my life.
Like, I could see the sharks jumping. I could see it. Like, but I was in it, man, and I was in it to win it, knowing, I'm leaving this perfectly capable ship to go into these shark-infested waters, and we're going to go find out.
And 100%.
You think part of that is like, do I have what it takes? Like testing ourselves.
Oh, I probably still think that today, honestly. But beyond that, in the early, I didn't think that. Honestly, I didn't think that in the early days, because kind of ignorance is bliss. But I started to think that went over time when success started to happen. And honestly, to be perfectly vulnerable and honest here, my thought was, do I really deserve success? And I kind of probably resisted that unintentionally along the way. But once I really started to understand what success is and what it takes to get success, not to mention keep it, that's when all that negative mindset, i.e. negative energy, came into place. But in the early days, it was all positive energy all day long, every day, because I was just so fired up to do what I was doing. And for many years, didn't make any money, but that wasn't it's never been about the money for me. It's been about, how we can serve people like my parents did in their business. And I fell in that trap for many years until I really started to figure it out, surround myself with people who thought differently, and then really be able to balance having a great culture, but also having a very profitable culture as well.
Yeah. Love it. As you can see, Mike Rose is a marketer. And, anytime, you're around Mike Rose, like we're talking about what could you get and how could I benefit you? So look at the bottom, you have poweredbyroe.com. You have a free assessment to take. Where is your energy? How do you bring that? How do you show up when you're going into work, your families, all these things? Find out. It is free to you today. You can jump on this, Powered by ROE, just for watching the show, just for being a part of Winners Find a Way. Poweredbyroe.com. Free assessment you'll get. Plus, at the end of that, you'll get an invitation to a live webinar on November 20th about energy map. Like, the energy map is a big deal. You're going to want to understand how it spends your time. Mike Rose is going to break all that out for you. It's incredible. It's an incredible gift to everyone here that is just tuning in on this. So, Mike, real quick, before we move on, tell them where they can find you if they want to reach you.
Sure. Returnonenergy.com. So simple as that. You can find me there. I'm obviously on LinkedIn, rmichaelrose.com, but you can search me on LinkedIn. But returnonenergy.com is the landing page that really shares my story, shares the concept of return on energy, and how not just about me, but how it can impact you.
And of course, if you're a business owner and us volunteers who are crazy enough, whenever you're in Dallas and find an EO event, Mike Rose is going to be there because he's voluntarily their president, helping them achieve this greatness and grit this year down in Dallas. And it's going to be amazing. And you're going to want to meet him and his friends down in Dallas and all the entrepreneurs in the EO organization, Entrepreneurs Organization of Dallas. Amazing. Here's one thing that most people don't know about Mike Rose. Although growing up in Western Pennsylvania, you are a 7th generation Texan.
I am. I was born in Fort Worth, and my dad was born
next to an air conditioner, bro, because it's hot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. What was air conditioning back then? I don't know. I think it's just opening a window or something. I don't know.
We called it 260, right? Like roll the 2 windows down and go 60 miles an hour. Right?
Exactly. Literally roll the windows down. So you're showing your age too now. We don't roll windows down anymore, do we?
Yeah.
But I showed by the way, on a side note to that, I showed my son an 8-track recently, and that was a fun conversation. But yeah, 7th generation.
Like, how do you get to the next song? Like, you have to have a special button.
I know, right? And that was my last LinkedIn post, by the way. It's pretty funny. It's for some reason getting a lot of traction. But yeah, born in Fort Worth. My mom was born in Fort Worth. My mom is her dad was a Fort Worth motorcycle policeman. Her brother was my uncle was a motorcycle policeman, fireman in the family. When I actually graduated Texas Wesleyan, I had 2 opportunities to go work at Alcon Laboratories or the Fort Worth Crime Lab. And this is all before CSIC was cool, right? And I probably should have taken that job, but Alcon paid a lot more and had better benefits. So started at a cool $30,000, which I was swimming in money. So that was amazing.
It was mad cash back then.
Yeah, well, it was sweet. But I had
going out to dinner 3 nights a week.
but I didn't think I had 2x that in debt, but that's beside the point, right?
Yeah, right.
but yeah, 7th generation Texan. Very, very proud of that, honestly. As we like to joke and say that Texas is the best country in the world, it's really a magical place, especially North Texas, where the economy is so great. We're on the 50-yard line of the United States. Both my mom and dad saw a vision as to what the opportunities that my brother and I could have, opposed to being from Western Pennsylvania in a 2,000-person glass plant town. So, but yeah, my dad's from Pennsylvania, my mom's from Fort Worth. A funny story to kick that off is my dad was stationed at the Carswell Air Force Base in Fort Worth, and his roommate at the time had a blind date with this girl from Fort Worth, and he decided not to go, and he asked my dad to go on this blind date because he says she'll never know. I mean, it's a blind date. So my dad went on the date and ended up marrying my mom. So it was awesome. Truly an interesting start to them. Fort Worth is a super special place in my heart. And but growing up in Pennsylvania was special too. Small town, Main Street business, and it was
the Midwest values.
Oh my gosh, it's the absolute best. But then coming back to Texas, my whole family did, my mom and dad and my brother, and went to enrolled in college, which I was the first to go to college, much less graduate from college. It was a major deal in my family. So that was pretty special, and that really kind of kicked off the Texas journey. And it's been a fun and very wild ride since.
Yeah, I love it. And I think, recently you kind of got involved with your genealogy, right? And your
Yeah,
ancestry. And of course, you tied yourself back because Lady Bird Johnson wrote this great book about
she did.
genealogy, about
Yeah.
Lyndon and the folks. And of course, you're now tied to the Lyndon B. Johnson family. And that's part of your legacy too, which is, listen, Texas has a lot of influence on this country. Like there's a lot of
Oh,
great leaders that have come out of here. And man, you hit I love it. I've never heard that described as the 50-yard line of America's economy, but I
oh
think
yeah.
it's pretty sharp. I think it's pretty
Yeah,
right on.
we can get to LA, Cancun, Chicago, Boston, Seattle, Miami. Just it's basically within an hour is pretty much the same jaunt. So it's good for business, but it's good for people coming to visit you too. So it's really a really really nice place.
Well, and I got to say, man, like, I also got spoiled. I have a lot of clients in Fort Worth, which I found out the
Hmm.
historical deal of Fort Worth is a big deal because it was rail,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
all rail ran through Fort Worth. So you started all the cattle, everything was coming through there. Obviously the stockyards are a huge deal. Still a very cool place to visit. There's just the architecture of downtown Fort Worth is amazing. I've just
love
stayed
it.
recently at the Sinclair, which is incredible.
Oh, good.
And we do a lot of work out of the Fort Worth Club, which is, got a storied history of everything that's kind of gone on in the town. So it's very cool. And then, of course,
Well,
I was blessed when you told me, hey, I'm coming in. Mike doesn't like to brag about it, but his office is 7 minutes from Dallas Fort Worth Airport. So it's like, hey, you're the easiest guy to go see in the whole Dallas Metroplex, by the way.
well, that and there's our wine club between here and the airport, so it cuts it in half, and it's a nice little pit stop on the way over and back.
who needs the airplane club, right? Like,
Yeah,
you
right.
got the
Exactly.
wine spot, right?
Exactly.
And so you've got it dialed up, man. Like people have figured out, like, listen, if you want to know how to dial up and fix life, like Mike Rose has it dialed in. Like you just got to spend like 3-4 days with Mike Rose and you'll get it.
Day by day,
Right?
man.
Yeah. So, all right, well, let's get into the book first, because the return on energy is something like you've got a heart for this. And I think part of it is that share not only what you've learned, because you took one of your businesses through the return on energy formula and you 10x your company, got this huge multiple for your sale, really kind of set your family up, which I think is a huge deal. Obviously a big influence for employees as well. But it's also a part of that when we write our stories is like, hey, that foundation, like you said, of how my parents really set me up for success, and I travel a lot. Like I told 17 countries I've spoke. I tell a lot of people like, hey man, I hear a lot of people telling me how great they've made America, but you got born on third base, right? like you got born into this,
Right, yeah.
man.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
one
Oh,
of these
man.
other people are immigrants who would love to come and get the value and find out. And 7 generations ago, you had one of those immigrants that came into Texas and said, we've got to create a life and a legacy for our families. And now here you are, 7th generation down, still creating that. And obviously with four little mullions running around here, you're going to go an 8th generation pretty quick here in 8th, 9th.
Yeah.
So it gets exciting to understand that value. So how much of that did that play a role when you're really thinking like, hey, I'm going to write my book about how this has all influenced me?
Oh, just, I mean, you really, that's probably the best question I ever received about the book anyway. And that is the influence in writing the book honestly came from my dad's side, which is, 2nd generation immigrants from Italy. So I grew up in a very Catholic Italian community, and it was all about family. And it was just, so with that, my grandfather was a coal miner, my dad was a butcher, and I don't say that a lot. I don't share that a lot, nor do I share the 7th generation part. But it really does influence. It did influence me how to live my life, and I knew I wanted a successful business. I knew success meant to me, balancing both culture and profit, and not compromising one or the other. But it also meant that I had to do things differently than what my family had done in the past. And that really did influence me. So if I'm blessed enough for you to read the book, the first, it's dedicated to my parents for really nurturing that in me. And quite frankly, my wife making it actionable. Right. So, when I started my business, I kind of intuitively knew I didn't feel like I was a natural born leader. I've now learned that that's a skill you can learn. It's not something you're just born with. But back then, I kind of turned on the research brain in me, and started experimenting. And I think, as a later learned 20 years later, the companies that experimenting the fastest grow the fastest, right? So I experimented with this methodology, honestly, for myself. I needed to be a great communicator. I wanted to create clarity from chaos. I wanted to create alignment from misalignment. I wanted people to know why they were doing what they were doing, and just started experimenting. And I had whiteboards 100% for all four corners of my office, and they were full. I had papers laying all over, books all over. Finally, my wife walked in, because this was such a successful formula for us to run our business, that she goes, "You have got to get this out there. You have got to talk to people about this." And so I started talking about it more. And then ultimately it led to publishing the book in 2012. And so it was really developed for myself. I kind of experimented on myself first and in our own company, and just very, very blessed that here it is 13, 14 years later, after the book was published, that it's evergreen content, and it's still being used, not just by me, but so many other people. That I talked to somebody this morning at a board meeting that read the book in 2013, implemented it in their business. I didn't know this. They're saying how it really impacted, and they still use it today. So what turned to be kind of like my crutch, my kind of framework that I could effectively communicate to people, turned into be something much bigger, which I never dreamed of.
I love it. I love it. And I think that's the impact of passing along the information you gather and gain. And I think, I feel like that's probably why I do the show. It's why, it's part of my calling. Like, I feel like I've been blessed with these experiences, and they're not really all on Trent Clark, right? Like, God gave me some skill sets that I don't really, I've certainly fostered and worked to develop, but they're not necessarily mine, right? They were given to me, and now it's my responsibility to manage those, I feel like. And
Right
it's my responsibility also to take those and give them to other people, like those experiences. And so that's why I love what I do, like in the growth world, and helping leaders become better leaders, because I've seen that better leaders, like I love the term, Mike, I'll know you know it when you can teach it. So as I teach those leaders, I'm like, oh, great, I know it. Oh, good. Let's have you go teach 3 people. And they're
that's
like,
really
wait a minute. Whoa, I don't want to teach 3 people. It's like, well, when we have to teach people, we go through all the stuff. Like, I got to know everything on return to energy. So when they ask me questions, I got to know it. That's right. You got to know it through and through and through, so you can be detailed about it and get it holistically, how it's going to serve, because people are going to come at it from different lenses. And you need to be able to teach that and guide them. And that's where the real secret sauce is for me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I've been speaking on ROE for 15 years. It originally came with the concept in December 2007. And, every time I get up and talk about it, every time I coach on the framework, to be honest with you, I learn something new myself. And that's kind of cool, because this is so much bigger than me. And I'm just very blessed and proud to have come up with something to help me and my family and our employees. And when we decided to sell, we made the same decision we make with every decision in our business. Is it good for our employees? Is it good for our clients? And is it good for me and my wife? So in that order. And I think that framework, that methodology really helped us kind of make key decisions, quite frankly, avoid bad decisions, which there was plenty of those too. But that just comes from a learning experience.
Well, and I think part of that is knowing that I believe in the fact, like, bad decisions or I'm not even say bad, just decisions that were off, right?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not the right decisions, the correct decisions, great learning experience. I always like the fact, like, let's take 6, 7 steps forward, 1 step back. If we're pushing the limits of what we can do in our potential, we're going to misstep, and that's okay. And one of the fun exercises I've had clients do before is we'll go out to the college stadiums, which, even the high school stadiums in Texas have good stadiums, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, to run stairs, man. It's like, I mean, I was in a high school stadium at $100 million stadium the other day, and I was like, in Texas, and I'm like,
nice turf.
Wait a minute, it's high school? Like, hold on, man. Yeah. So this happens, people. This happens in real world.
Mm-hmm.
So, and one of the exercises is, okay, well, I get to go 7 up, 1 back, but Mike, you're going to have to go 4 up, 1 back. Our CFO is going to go 3 up, 2 back. And one person's going to go 2 up, 1 back. And, like, let's just see how far we are in 20 minutes. because I'm almost through the stadium. You're about, a good half to 2/3. And the other ones are like going, wait a minute, man, I am working my butt off and going nowhere. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because you can't keep, I go up and there's so it's okay to take a step back, but you just can't keep going 2-1, 3-2. You work so hard and you don't get anywhere. And it's a challenge. So I like the idea that we accept the errors and we learn from the errors and go get better and shape it better. Failure is never final. Come on. Right.
Right on. I mean, it kind of goes back to you get what you focus on, right? If you're focusing on errors, you're going to get errors. You focus on success, you're going to get success. So when you're focused on the right thing, if you're focused on the right thing, if you're focused on the goal, then the obstacle just becomes potentially opportunities to improve, get better, and maybe an opportunity you've never seen before. So, but if you're focused on those obstacles, guess what? All you're going to see are obstacles. So when I like to paraphrase it by saying you get what you focus on. So let's focus on the goal, whatever that goal might be. Yeah.
I love that. I like the, who's the guy who said it? Was it Lynch? Was it Peter Lynch? He said, we manage what we measure, right?
Yeah. Right on. Yeah.
Like, hey, if we're going to measure it, let's manage it, because now all of a sudden we want measurements. Let's get that better. And I think as everyone sees today, right, ROE powers ROI. A return on energy will power your return on investment. For all of us in business, teams, we want to invest our time in these people, and we want to get return in that. We want to get return on where we spend our energy. And the dark side is that when we spend a lot of energy, financials, effort, and get nothing out of it, that's our death wish right there. Like for guys like you and I, Mike, we're like, oh my gosh, I just lost a whole Friday afternoon. Like, who's got time to lose stuff like that? Like, this is the worst return on energy I've ever had in my life. And we're like going, never again. We will square that stuff off like it's the worst thing ever. And for people that don't understand that, who have lost the sense of like customer service, where they feel like, oh my gosh, I never got served. I didn't happen this week. We got delayed. I will never use your airline again. They have a return on energy, and it is not serving their ROI. They missed their kid's wedding. They missed a service with their grandparents. They when this happens, they will never let you forget that return on that energy.
Right on. And that's why we've always, speaking of goals, and it's part of the ROE framework, is to properly set business objectives, i.e. what you focus on is what you'll get. And, if you just, and I believe that when we set objectives, we should set a balanced scorecard objective, not just financial measurements, but client measurements, customer measurements, operational measurements, but most importantly is cultural measurements as well. So when you kind of follow this four stack process, and when I go in and coach a client, first thing, one of the things I'll ask for is show me your high level, objectives for the year. And if they're all financial, then, and usually financial may involve client or operational goals, but where are the cultural goals? Where's your culture page? How are you recruiting? Are you attracting the talent you want and not paying for the talent, like some of us do? But just making sure the right, first and foremost, and the second I should say is setting the right balanced business objectives. But first is making sure that there's a vision story in the business, and vision to me is like sound, right? I'll ask anybody listening today, do you play an instrument? Tell me what does that instrument sound like? Communicate that to me. And the point is, music is indescribable. And the point is, your vision is indescribable too. Stop talking about your vision. The way you describe your vision, or the way you hear the music, you have to play it. And the way to play the vision of a business is talking about your purpose, your mission, and your values. And so our purpose at my company, which we exited a couple years ago, Mojo Media Labs, was the purpose was to enrich lives. I still know it today. It's so ingrained into me. Our purpose was to enrich lives. Our mission was to help you, all of our stakeholders, grow smarter. That was an acronym of HUGS. And then we have 6 core values that we all rally behind. So as a leader, I always started with 80-20. 80 talking about the vision, 20 talking about the objectives. And I think too many leaders flip that around to talk about the objectives, and they think they know what their vision is, or they think they know what the values are. And then when they talk about the objectives 80% of the time, they're talking about financial objectives, losing a lot of that other juice that's in there to really inspire people to run a great business.
Well, and I heard you speak to that right off the get, right? Like we gave financial literacy, like our people,
huge.
we could put a financial measure of how many children went to college from our employees, or everyone maximized their days off, right? They maximize their PTO this year. No one's working. Oh, I got to make 60 hours to make it work. It's the only way I can, contribute around here. Like, no, you don't. You do not. We actually need you rested and ready on Monday, refreshed. Be ready to be present, as opposed to, oh, I'm exhausted because I don't get any rest. And once I go home, I got to do all the stuff for my family, and I'm working 60 hours.
We actually took that a step further beyond financial literacy. We also, in 2018, we implemented a process where you could work anywhere, any place, anytime. And there was no judgment if you came into the office or not. And we had 3 offices. We had one in, many different cities, home office being here in Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so when we implemented work anywhere, any place, anytime, the office became a tool, just like any tool that you would use in your business. And if you needed that tool, you used it. If you didn't need it, you didn't use it. I think that set us up well for COVID. And we were teaching our clients how to do this during COVID. But when the office is a tool, and you give people, essentially what we do is we give them their time back. So you can invest your time, forget balance, work life, all your time, however you wanted to invest it. If you need to take home, take care of something at home, do it. One of the exercises we had is you had to, at 3, everybody was in the office. We had an exercise where you had to choose from 10 different things to do. And one girl chose get up and leave at 3 o'clock one day, get up, grab your stuff, walk out the door, and don't say anything to anybody, just leave. And they thought that she quit, but it was part of her exercise. And she went home that day and she told her kids, she said, hey, the day before, she goes, tomorrow I'm going to come home at 3 o'clock. I'm going to pick you up from school and I'm going to walk you home. We're going to get ice cream. And her kids were like, and she said, oh, and my work is making me do this. And the kid said, your work is making you come home and spend time with us? And that really was a fire starter. Just like, what are we teaching our kids about work? Are we teaching kids that work is a bad thing that mommy and daddy's taken away from me? Or are we teaching it that if it's work's tied to purpose, that you're doing not just well, but doing good in the world? So we really leaned into work anywhere, any place, anytime, coupled with financial literacy, really kind of kicked off a culture that, honestly, the exit was great, but I kind of miss it. I miss the environment because my goal was not just to win Inc. 5000 like a lot of entrepreneurs want to do, but what I wanted to do is win Inc. 5000 and Inc. Best Workplaces in America in the same year, which we did in 2019. So it's really that seesaw, if you will, of great financial performance, but then also great culture. And that's something that I'm probably most proud of on how the return on energy framework set us up for success.
I love it. Let's talk about the Winners Find a Way show for a minute and talk about younger micros, right? Back to walking the plank out in the dog shed. We talk about the foundation of a lot of entrepreneurs, which is I named the show because I love the quote from the 4 Disciplines of Execution, where it said, winners, when shown data that they're losing, find a way to win. And I thought, man, that's everybody I've surrounded my life with since I was 17. High performers want other high performers around them, right? And high performers, when they're winning and they're not winning all of a sudden, it's like, whoa, like, why aren't we winning? We need to figure this out. Like, this isn't fun. I'm not enjoying this. Like, no one likes to get their butt kicked, right? And it's like, wait a minute. Now, some people actually, it turns out like they're kind of indifferent to it. They're kind of like, oh, yeah, that's too bad. We're winning. But, I still enjoy being with everybody and hanging out. And I'm like, that's cool. Yeah. That's not my mentality. I don't have that. I have that mentality of like, got to win, self-improvement. I tell a lot of people I'm on Trent Clark 55.0 because every year I've got to have that version. I've got to get better. Yeah. My clients kind of require that I stay up with the things that are happening. And I'm blessed to have these clients that are in so many different industries that it just gets a ton of fun to understand, like, hey, what are the economic conditions that are affecting you? We've seen this in the last year where certain amount of my clients have like tariffs. Oh my gosh, we have tariffs now. Like, and what's this going to mean to us? And we have to strategize that and figure that out. Like, is this going to factor? How do we avoid this? Like, how do we get around it? How do we lean into this? Can we make value out of that? Is there an opportunity in tariffs, right? Like all these things that you see, right? And so walk me through a time where you were in that, where you felt like, oh, listen, man, whatever we're measuring, the indicators are in and we're not winning. So I got to do something different. Like, walk me through something in your life where that happened.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm trying to reflect here. So COVID was probably that year. COVID's that time. And I recently did an exercise because, you know, like you, we've just seen a lot of ebbs and flows in business climates over the year. And I recently did an exercise, like since 1997, what has the business climate ups and downs been like? And, you know, it started in, you know, the dot-com boom and bust. It went into the financial crisis. It went into 9/11. It went into, you know, all these issues, obviously leading into COVID and beyond. So when COVID came around, I had seen a recession. I had seen, you know, what the country does when, you know, during 9/11. I've seen the recession. I was in the dot-com boom and building a really great tech platform to my existing business. And so when COVID rolled around in March, on March 13th, 2020, literally Friday the 13th, when it was officially announced as a pandemic, we had our plan for the year. We kind of had our stuff together and we stopped planning halfway through the year for that year. We actually planned the year before. And we're really proud of our plan that year and we were on plan. But I tell you, when that hit, you know, we kind of walked out of the office on that Friday with a little swagger because we were doing well. But when things really hit the fan, we instantly pivoted. And we to this day, I still remember our strategy, and it was ACTS, ACTS. Number one, everyone was going to be accountable for what they say they're going to do, even though that was always the case, but that was really important. Two, we're going to rely on our culture, which was, you know, the vision, the purpose, mission, and values. And then T was transparency. We were going to be super transparent with everybody in the business, no matter what happened, whether it was PPP or layoffs or pay reduction or whatever the case might be. And then lastly was S. We needed to buckle in and build a very, very strong sales process to our agency, which we had, but it was just saying we're going to do it, but never really did it. But we actually followed through on that. So, you know, I think when you have, as coaches today, like you and I are, we get to borrow from those past experiences and hopefully flatten the learning curve for people who may not have had that same pathway that we've had, and just know that, hey, you know, if you're focusing on, you know, pandemic, that's all you're going to see is obstacles and challenges. But if you're focusing on the opportunity or how you could shift from a leadership perspective to lead people through this and come up with a very clear strategy that is, and not live in that chaos. Because if you see chaos, if you see chaos, you're gonna experience chaos. If you see clarity, you're gonna get clarity. So it was really kind of learning how to pivot so very fast as an entrepreneur, a founder, or even a leader, and not be afraid to do that, but do it through, you know, authenticity, transparency, and involving the team in the decisions moving forward.
Love it. I love it. I love the acronym, first of all, right? Like, we always want to take action when challenges face. I think action in the face of anything, like, it's so easy to analysis paralysis, right? We're just going to stop. Oh, let's stop it. And I'm not saying that's not a bad thing, to take a breath. Let's regroup. Let's look at, you know, the analysis, but we put a timeline on that. You and I, as coaches, we're like, okay, we're going to analyze this. We got 2.5 hours. Let's go. At the end, we're going to start making our action steps. So we will do this for a time. And I think that's really important. I love that. Man, I that transparency word jumped out at me, because I tell a lot of people, you cannot over communicate in a crisis.
Yeah.
You cannot.
And sometimes communicating in a crisis, saying, I don't know what to do during this crisis. That's communicating. That's being open and honest. But we will figure it out, right?
That's right. We're working on it. We're on the case. And right now, we don't think we have a good idea of the solution today. In fact, we're opening it to anyone who might have a good idea, because good ideas come from anywhere. And this is our challenge. We're facing it. We're well aware of it. And this is how we're leaning into it. So if someone has ideas, please get a hold of me. Like being humble enough to say, like, I don't know, and be okay with that for a short duration, and letting other people know, they're like, wow. Because I see a lot of people who want to lead. They think leadership is all the answers. And I've never thought that. I think leadership is asking the best questions.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right on. And speaking of ideas, part of the ROE framework is to connect idea to plan to action. And we as entrepreneurs, we have not short on ideas, what's going on. But the problem is our passion and our energy takes us from idea to action so fast that we fail to plan. And the Small Business Administration will tell you that businesses don't fail due to the lack of ideas, and they don't fail due to the lack of action. They fail due to the lack of planning. And I think this is a problem that originated when business schools started to adopt the entrepreneurship programs, the curriculums within colleges and universities. And there was a time in the early 80s when they were developing this curriculum that they had a decision to make. They could either go behavior-based or skill-based. And they decided to go skill-based and teach accounting and finance and marketing and operate. No, that's really important. Don't get me wrong, but that's planning, right? That's bringing people in who can plan. And generally, the leader, particularly the founder of the company, is not the best planner. So being able to connect idea to action through proper planning is great. I wish, and what I'm trying to change is making leadership or entrepreneurship, if you will, more behavior-based. And we didn't talk about this in the pre-show, but I've been following your show for quite some time, and talking about you get what you focus on. And I just said to myself, I'm going to be on that show one day. I didn't know you at the time. I just said, because the word way pops out at me in everything that I do, because it's very significant in the area of return on energy, because a way is a behavior, and there's 3 behaviors in business. And I'm going to be on that show one day. And it just goes to show that, what you focus on will come true. So that said, going the behavior route versus the skill route, there are 3 behaviors in business. We call them hats, we call them chairs. And we all say we wear many different hats, we sit in many different chairs. But the thing is, there's only 3 hats and 3 chairs. And when those hats are aligned in the right chair, the energy is at an all-time high. And for the sake of the listeners, I want to define energy, because energy is a very misunderstood currency in business, a power, a superpower, if you will. And the way I define energy is it's the enthusiasm and drive people have in the workplace when they have the full support and the opportunities to grow to their greatest potential. So with that, if we focus entrepreneurship, founders, even leadership from a behavioral perspective, not a skill perspective, there are 3 ways. And I simply label them way 1, way 2, and way 3. And those 3 ways, once you understand which way gives you the most energy, which simply lines up to be vision, strategy, and tactics, or idea, plan, and action. And when we can surround ourselves in the right ways of thought, then really things start to happen really well. And when you get the right people in the right seats, thinking, communicating the right way, that's when we start to see all kinds of traction, not just in our business, but in our clients as well.
I love it. So let's play this. I want to play this out because I love it. This is a new way for me to look at winners finding a way. I really enjoy this. So let's talk about it. So winners find a way. Vision. Way 1 is a vision. You have an idea.
Right.
You gotta get that. You gotta get that vision, clarity. That's a big deal. Way 2 is what?
Strategy.
And
way 3
so
is tactics.
Our plan.
Correct.
Tactics.
I call way 3 the subject matter. It's the subject matter.
Our tactics.
It's our subject matter expertise in the business. Yeah.
Yep. In my world, we call this our execution.
Yeah,
and we execute. Like this is one thing to talk about it. And this is where I think people miss. And I want you to get this, because you're going to pick up my book, Leading Winning Teams. You're going to pick up Return on Energy. Don't read these books. Study these books. How will I take the concept and execute on what I've learned out of that? And he's showing you, here's a 3-way, right? Like, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to create a vision, an idea. Got to get that dialed in. I'm going to get a strategy, a plan. We're going to put that together. And by the way, you'll be exhausted after way 1 and 2, right? Right, Mike? Like, you're like, oh my gosh, we just worked 2 days on this. Like, and now we got to execute it. Like, yeah, now you actually have to go and do it and take action and be okay that, hey, sometimes the actions aren't perfect. It's going to take a minute, like, I'm not doing, 360 dunking next week, right? Like I'm gonna have to practice this and work at it. I'm never actually 360 dunking, but at 5'6", right? So like, but that's the reality of the deal, is like understanding that the ways is, and what I hear in this, the 3 ways are simple. They will not be easy.
Simple does not mean easy. Correct. Einstein said it's very, very hard to make something easy. Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I like that people make it simple. I like that people make it simple. Just folks that, like, what Mike Rose has done for you is he's made it very digestible. It looks simple. It is simple. He's broke it down for you. You're going to see it on this free assessment. It's amazing. It's simple. Now, do not misunderstand simple with easy. And I always use the Bible for this, Mike, right? Like, hey, it's pretty simple. 10 commandments, just don't do it. Like, who hasn't messed up that today?
Right.
Like, oh, wait a minute. It was supposed to be easy. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's simple, but it's not easy.
Well, you said it really well earlier. And it's like, when you get through way 1, way 2, or vision and strategy, you're going to be exhausted, right? And it's funny you say that, because I call it the mental triathlon, right? We're running entrepreneurs specifically, especially founder, early day entrepreneurs. We're running this triathlon in our mind every single day. And what happens if you're going to run a marathon every single day? It's just not sustainable. Early, you can, because you got this energy, you got this excitement, and you can sit in all the seats. But over time, it gets to owner fatigue, is what they would technically call it in the space. And now, when all my bad decisions came from fatigue. And so when I stopped running the mental triathlon, and I said, listen, I'm going to start hiring subject matter experts to do what I think I can do better, but I'm going to hire way 3s to be the experts. And then I'm going to be a 1-2 hybrid. Now I need to find great strategists, great planners who can take these ideas and objectives, put them into action, and then manage the people doing the work. Then I can sit in the way 1 seat for a longer period of time. And then I can sit in the way 1 seat. I can run 1 race, not 3 races in the same day. And that race inspires you, because that's aligned, that behavior is aligned to what gives you the most energy every day. And what I found is that generally what is negative energy for you is positive energy for somebody else. Somebody else would want to take on that responsibility.
Yeah.
But because
I'd love to dive into a 135-page spreadsheet. I'm like,
oh my gosh,
Excel, it's yours.
Right.
Yours. Right? So no, as I hear this, and I want people to hear this as I break this down a little bit, which is in Trent's world, no other than that, right? Is Trent's world. Like, I feel we've done a disservice to entrepreneurs. So set up a website, you're going to be a millionaire. Like, yeah, sure. Like, so now what you heard Mike Rose just say was that we focused in on the behaviors, or the skill, not the behaviors, the skills of being an entrepreneur. So, and now he's talking about energy. And this is a big deal, because, hey, I have the skill to walk fast, and I even have the skill to jog and run. Should I be doing marathons? Because guess what? Because I have the skill set to run, doesn't mean I'm ready to run 26.2 miles tomorrow in a race. Like, I'm not mentally, emotionally, morally, and physically conditioned for any of that right now at 26 miles, right? But I have all the skill sets. So, I went to uni and I got trained on the skill set, so I'm ready. No, you're not. Like, you do not have these behaviors dialed in. And this is why I also think when Mike Rose talked earlier about leadership, if I was going to go take a young person and I said, hey, listen, I'd like you to learn leadership, I would love to have them shadow a Mike Rose. They're going to get a bunch of stuff because a lot of things are caught, not taught. They're going to see how a great leader like Mike Rose does it. Does that give them the behaviors yet to do it? No, but they see how he's interacting with the behaviors and how they're working, and he's combining his skill set with the behaviors to make it work. What have you seen in this from that gap from, hey, trained entrepreneur, trained, to actually being in it? What's that gap that you see?
You're good at this, man. You've got a gift. You got a gift at pulling the right stuff out. So I'll as they say, double click on this for a second. So as we discussed, the way one is the visionary, the way one is the leader, the way two is the manager. There was a Harvard Business Review article that came out probably 10, 15 years ago that says, what is the difference between leadership and management? And they really never define the difference, right? And the difference is way one's lead, way two's manage. So when you said kind of, I want to shadow you on leadership, for example, it reminded me of a story. I was speaking at a school here in Texas, and I was speaking to a high school class, and they're all a college senior class, and they're all about to graduate. And I got done kind of outlining the return on energy methodology, and a girl came up to me. She goes, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." She said, "I've got two job opportunities. The first one is working for being a director of marketing for this firm." And I said, "Well, let me stop you right there. How big is the marketing department?" She goes, "Oh, it'll just be me." I said, "That's interesting. So you're going to be the way two and the way three." I said, "Are you going to get two paychecks?" And she kind of laughed. And I said, "Let me guess. Don't say anything more." I said, "You're being interviewed by a passionate entrepreneur who wants to build out a marketing department and take a fresh grad and make him a director of marketing to manage nobody. So are you going to manage or are you going to do?" She goes, "Well, I have to do both." And so what's the second opportunity? She goes, "Well, I'll be working at a American Marketing Association Canada chapter, and I'm going to be it was a technical role, a subject matter expert, i.e. way three role." I said, "That sounds interesting." So about 2 months later, she calls me back and she emailed me. She said, I decided on a job, and I was curious as to which one she would take because the first one paid more money. And she said, "I took the AMA job because," and before I could even say anything, she goes, "I will be managed by a qualified way two." So what was interesting is that as we're teaching, people and younger people in businesses, way one's lead, way two's manage. But I'm going to throw down something kind of heavy. If you're a way three thinker sitting in a way two seat, if you're a tactical thinker sitting in a manager seat, usually that happens because you just stuck around long enough and you got the role. So if you're a three thinker in a two seat, you're going to have a tendency to do what they like to say, micromanage. However, if you're a way two thinker in a way two seat, if you're a strategic thinker, you'd rather create the plan and manage the people to do the work. You will become a micro mentor. Right. So as a leader, I have to mentor my managers, and as the managers, they have to mentor the subject matter experts. And when things start to lay out like this, then you get away from micromanagement and you get into micro mentorship, which is what ultimately everybody, I feel, craves when they want to shadow somebody.
I love this. And I think I just had this experience where we're bringing people along quickly. Right? Candidates are coming through and you see kids that are like, I think they were taught this at university, like, hey, if you jump every 2 years, it's exponential, right? Like you get a 3%, 5%, bump in your raise every year just because you showed up, especially as a way three, like, hey, we want to keep you. Now I get into a role into management at like 26, 28 on my fourth effort. And now I've got this bump. And then as long as everything's good, I'm at 5 companies before I'm 30 years old. I'm making $100,000 because of the exponential growth and the bumps. And they're like, "Oh, I've made it." Except they missed a bunch of the skill sets along the way. And now all of a sudden, any tough time, they're not a good interview and they're not loyal, right? They don't have any of those things. And so what I see is I see a lot of small firms bringing young talent into way twos who have no experience being a way three, which means that no one modeled way two behavior for them. And we're like going, "Why are you so bad at way two?"
Right on. You nailed it. And I was speaking at another event a while back, and it was this event where they were awarding 2 scholarships to these high school kids, and they were celebrating these 2 kids, whatever. And I had books in the back of the room, and one of the 2 students came up to me and she said, "Mr. Rose, can I have 2 books?" And I was like, when anybody asks me for 2 books, and this has happened probably 24 times in speaking events, I always flag them down and say, "Why do you need 2 books?" And the answer is the same every single time. The student said, "I work in a movie theater as I'm going to high school. My manager has to read this book." It was such a telling thing that when you're being micromanaged or maybe not being managed at all, what are we teaching, again, our young workforce about work? So what they want is that pay. What they want is to be the director or the manager or the whatever that way to definition of role is. But is that setting them up for success? But is that, number one, infusing positive energy into the work environment? And generally it's not. So the challenge I have for people is that what happens, and maybe think about this tomorrow morning, what happens when you open your eyes in the morning, when you wake up and your feet hit the floor? There's a gap in your day between you open your eyes, you wake up, and your feet hit the floor. In that gap, are you excited? Are you energetic? Are you like ready to hit the day and start on fire? Or do you sit there and go, I'm going to delay the time between wake up and get up because,
snooze,
life sucks.
Snooze.
Yeah. Snooze your life and just snooze the iPhone and grab that and not snooze, but then stay in bed for another. That gap in time is so critically important. And in my experience, money doesn't get you up faster. It's your purpose and what you're doing, who you're working with, who you're doing it for. And that's a lot of things that people don't consider when they're getting a 10% bump.
Yeah, man, that's so powerful. Listen, another freaking thrilling episode of Winners Find a Way, man. Like this is and we learned winners find 3 ways. Actually, listen to the whole thing.
There you go. There you go.
You don't want to hear it again. And
3-time MLB World Series champion in 3 ways. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 3 ways. So, sometimes I have one of these shows, Mike, where I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to send this to 8 people, right? Like right now, like it's so funny.
Thank you.
And I love it. I love it because there's so many lessons, and I've had these discussions, right? And I'm not saying it the right way. You just said it the way, and I love that. So, so good, man.
Well, like
last question, and it's got to be quick, Mike. It's got to be quick.
Yep.
Last question. You talked about this. You're in your story, Acts. You got somebody out there right now who's struggling. There's a lot of people that are struggling right now, and the economy's a little hit. There's a lot of people sitting on the sideline for 6 months at the beginning of this year, trying to make up for it in the third quarter, fourth quarter, trying to break even. If someone's hurting right now, what would you tell them right now if they're not winning?
Clarity. You have got to get clarity. Everything starts with clarity, and clarity evolves from focus. You've got to get focused, right? So once you create focus, you create clarity. What's the opposite? If you're not creating clarity, you're creating chaos, right? If you're a leader, you're creating chaos with yourself, your team. But when you yourself get clarity, you can now start to move to the most important thing is to get alignment, and not just alignment with people, which is very important, but alignment with yourself. When you're clear as to what you want, then you can create alignment, and not just action. Action is like, it's an ambiguous term that just means too many things. I like to say purposeful action, right? So action just means you're checking the boxes. I'm gonna check the box, punch the clock, as they used to say back in the day. I'm taking action, and action is important. But if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, because the other thing under way 1, way 2, way 3 is why, how, what. When you get clarity, when you're focusing on the right things and you get clarity, you create alignment, and then you can take purposeful action, right? Or as Tony Robbins might say, massive action, right? But until I have that clarity opposed to chaos, I have alignment opposed to misalignment, and I'm taking purposeful action opposed to just action, then I think what happens is you get what you start to focus on, and then those things have a tendency just to manifest in your life. And then and not having just one mentor, but many mentors in different areas of your life to help maintain that momentum that happens with clarity, alignment, and purposeful action.
I love it. And I have to do this every day, people. I have to look at listen, you know what I do? I create increased communication and execution in organizations to help them 10X. And you know how we do it? We do it through prioritization and focus, just what Mike's saying. That's so important for us. And then why we do it is because we want to make people better. Because when we get people better, it's not exponential. When you have a Mike Rose and a Trent Clark in your organization, we just went and made 20 people better on each of our teams, which means 42 people got better, which probably means we got about 4,000% better. It's going to be crazy how exponentially that's going to come back into your lives. So telling you, it's so good today. Winners Find a Way. Every Thursday live at 10 a.m., 7 p.m. a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern on LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, our YouTube Leadershipity channel. And then, of course, our podcast drops every Friday on every major network. Thank you today to Mike Rose, Return on Energy. Return on Energy Powers ROI. Return on Energy Powers ROI. president, EO Dallas, and serial entrepreneur. You're going to want to talk to Mike Rowe. So look him up, find him, and get that book. And of course, do your assessment. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone. And